Usually when we see a first mass of a priest, when they give their parents the stole in the mandaterium, that tradition, usually the priest gets a little emotional. Was it like that for you?
Oh yeah. I got very choked up. Which I think people were surprised. I don't do that often. And I did the thing. It's funny. You've seen me already in a homily here do that. I just had that where I couldn't really talk. I just had to just stop. Because I am so grateful for them. I always think about when I hear priest, and people word it differently. Some people have more of a script. I just trusted myself to go off it. But, my mom has done so much for me and like really made it so possible for me to have this vocation. And then the words for your dad with the stole, it's really about God. Like, first, he has to teach you justice, and then he has to teach you mercy. Like, there is no mercy without justice. And as a confessor, like, there's a need to have an understanding of that. And so I was just in a very real way, thinking about that. My dad has done so good to teach us kind of what is right our whole lives, but he's also been like very merciful and very soft. And so I was just kind of thinking, like, it's so awesome that I was given a dad who I can give this stole to, and I'm just telling the truth right now. That was very emotional.
I mean, I watched Father Jacob's first mass. He got really emotional. Yes. Father Luis, when his mass in Mexico, I saw that online. Oh boy, with his grandparents. Oh
wow.
Yeah, wow. That very, very emotional. Yeah. I can imagine. What did it feel like the first time with the Eucharist?
Just incredibly surreal. I thought I was going to be a lot more nervous because I was chanting that part of the Eucharistic prayer, and I was like, oh my gosh, what if I'm just crashing and burning like the first time I sang the responsorial psalm at the seminary or something.
You don't want to invalidate the mass or something like that.
I know. So you're kind of worried. And man, it was such a grace. I mean, really, I remember I was like, man, I have like no pressure in my chest like that you have when you're nervous sometimes.
Really?
It was just like super clear. And I couldn't believe how well I was able to pray in that moment. And it is so surreal. You're like, wow, okay, it's Jesus now, and it's really just unreal.
Because you were talking about being able to do that during our last interview. You were saying, I can't believe I'm going to be able to be there when this happens.
Yeah, it was super humbling. And then the same went for confessions. I mean, the first confession I heard, without getting into too much detail, obviously, but I remember being like, wow, I guess this is like kind of when what was happening. I was like, wow, like this person's being absolved from their sins by me. And it's funny, I had a friend who gave me a card that has the English words of absolution and the Spanish words back to back. It fits in my wallet, and it's
there
great.
You go, yeah.
And for that one, I was like, I'm so nervous. I do not want to botch this and invalidate. And then a little bit later on, I think the first time I didn't use the card was when I heard a confession of a priest. And I basically said, hey, can you let me try to just say these words and then just tell me if they're wrong? As that kind of, and I got them right for the record.
Do you choose who the first confession will be?
So I didn't, which I almost regretted because, well, a lot of times people will ask you, or it'll come up, people will say, can you be my first confession? And you basically say yes, unless somebody cuts you at my ordination. I'm not going to say no to them. They have a right to the sacrament. I did not. And I started to regret it because it was getting like kind of late in the Saturday. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to have to like reach out to somebody or like send a group text to my friends? Like, but then naturally, someone asked and I said, oh, absolutely.
So it wasn't somebody you chose ahead of time. No. Okay.
Yeah, but I almost like that. But it was a risk, like I said, but I almost liked that it was organic. It was like somebody who wanted to go to confession. And it wasn't like, oh, I heard a confession so I could give you this stole, which it is like that. But it was like, no, somebody as a priest asked me if I could hear their confession and absolve their sins. And here's the stole from doing that. So It almost made it more special. But it was there was a point where I was like, wow, this was risky.